I'm not really sentimental kind of guy. Like, I keep things, sometimes I guess maybe too long. But I like to keep things from my life because I'm kind of a loner. So I don't hang out with a lot of people. I don't have any people around where I stay most of the time. I am focused mostly on my work or on social issues or whatever. So I like to keep things, intimate things that remind me of where I've been, and keep close to me things that are important, that have moved me over my life. I mean, I'm wearing an old token because the subway means a lot to me. I have this Jewish star around my chest that was, can you see it? It was on my father's chest when he died. I took it off and been wearing it. I have a badge from my grandfather. He used to work at the post office. I got keys to my mother's house. All these people have passed away. So anyway, I keep things, you know? And so I'm getting ready to move to a new home, to a new city, a whole new place, shifting my life. And I also keep running shoes. Like, sometimes I'll take old pairs of running shoes and use them as slippers to walk around the house. They're really comfortable. I don't really like slippers. And they also kind of document a time of my life for me. You know, like, I'm a runner, I love to run, and I sometimes think about where I am in my life according to how I'm running. You know, I've had injuries, I've worn myself down. Sometimes I'm in the best shape of my life, and I think about how that's affected emotionally or spiritually by where I am, maybe career-wise or personally. My running is usually an indication of what's going on in my life. So I tend to keep old running shoes. But today I decided to get rid of 2 pairs of running shoes that were really important to me. And you know, you might think this is kind of crazy, but you know, I'm just being honest with you. This is a thing for me. So anyway, I got rid of these 2 pairs of running shoes, and they're called Hoka. The company is Hoka One. And they're great running shoes. They're well known for having like really huge bottoms, you know, like the outsole is just really thick. And so they're really good if you're coming back from an injury or, you know, for long runs, recovery runs. Some people race in them. Those are not quite as thick. But anyway, I had these 2 pairs of Hoka. And so I want to tell you the story about them because it's kind of interesting of how I first came about them and how this is kind of a metaphor for me moving on to another place in my life. So anyway, I was going through a period where I was having problems with my feet. Like, the other thing is that I walk everywhere. Like, people who know me know that I walk sometimes from the Bronx to Brooklyn, rehearsing my lines. I love to walk around New York City. I love to walk around anywhere. I mean, I used to walk when I lived in LA, and nobody walks in LA. So anyway, I was having problems with my feet. And so I reached out to my friend Phil Wharton, who's a world-class runner, a great trainer. He and his father have trained, like, you know, world-class athletes, Olympic champions, world champions, gold medalists, you know. They're the doctors of running and training. And so I said, yo, I'm having problems with my feet. You know, I kind of crushed the front of my, what do you call it? You know, like under the front of my toes, you know? Like, I run up on the balls of my feet, and I had crushed the nerve endings. There's a lot of wind coming in the window here, so I hope it's not affecting this. But anyway, I was having problems, so he said to me, you need to speak to Tommy, who was one of the people that worked with them at their company. And Tommy was also a great trainer. I'm going to cover the microphone right now because of this wind coming in my window. So I called Tommy Nohilly, and he was coaching a high school track team. Now, Tommy's a world-class runner too, great steeplechase runner, who actually went to the world championships. I mean, Google him, Tommy Nohilly. So anyway, he was coaching a high school team up in Katona, New York, and they were actually sponsored by Hoka. And so I spoke to him, and he gave me some information, and I Googled all over the place, and I found out where I can get them, and I found out that there was actually a store in New York City that sold them. a place called Jackrabbit Sports at the time. It was down by Columbus Circle, down by 59th Street. So anyway, I called this store, and I needed these shoes like now, like immediately. I had to have them, So I called this store, and the guy picks up the phone. I was like, yo, you guys carry the Hoka Ones? He goes, yes, we do. I said, I need a pair of shoes right now. And he says, what size? I said, I wear a size 8.5. He goes, all right, hold on for a second. Puts me on hold. I wait. He comes back. He goes, we have one pair left in that size. I said, okay. He goes, one pair of Stinsons. I'm like, one pair of Stinsons? He said, yeah. So one of the styles of the Hoka was the Stinson. So I was like, yo, those are my shoes. Hold them for me. I'm coming down there right now to buy them. So I go down there and I pick them up. I get the Stinsons. These shoes absolutely saved my life, allowed the nerve endings to heal on the balls of my feet. I could feel my toes again because I had completely lost the feeling in my toes, and I was much better. It helped my back. It helped everything. So why was this significant to me? Well, Stinson was the name of my dog, who had died a little bit before that time. And the loss, I'm getting emotional already. The loss of my dog, Stinson, was one of the most difficult moments for me in my life. Like, I'm telling you, when he died, it was worse for me than when my mother or father died. And not because he meant more to me than my mother or father, but my mother and father were grown people. They were adults. They knew what was going on. But something about dogs, it's like, it's like they don't get to be more than like the equivalent of what a 3-year-old child would be. They're so dependent upon you. They're so vulnerable. They're just like pure love. And so when Stinson passed, after having him in my life for 14 years, it was just devastating to me. And so this was kind of like Stinson taking care of me. So let me go back and tell you a little bit about that. So Stinson, okay. Stinson was named after a beach in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And actually, if you go to the Mill Valley Library in Mill Valley, which is in Marin County, right outside of San Francisco on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge, there's a library. And if you go to the back of the Mill Valley Library, there's some wooden steps in the mountain, which is Mount Tamalpais. And if you go up those steps and over the mountain, there's a trail, beautiful trail, called the Dipsy Trail. And it ends 6 miles later at Stinson Beach. Stinson Beach is the most beautiful beach on the planet Earth. Like, it is the most beautiful place. First time I saw it, I was like, I have to live here. Like, I felt so much connection to this place for some reason. I don't even know why, but I just, I really felt it. So anyway, Stinson was named after that. Also, that's the beach that I got married on, because my wife at the time grew up in that area, and it was also one of her favorite places. So we decided to get married on that beach. It was the most beautiful wedding in the history of the world. It was just incredible. So we named Stinson, our dog, after that beach. Now, why else was Stinson so significant? Well, Kathleen, who I married on that beach, she wanted a puppy for years. We didn't have kids, So, the whole time while we're married, I'm like, why do you want a puppy? I mean, we don't have kids. We have all this freedom. We can go wherever we want. We can travel. We both work. We travel in our work. We just, we don't have anything holding us down. We can do anything. We can go anywhere. We don't have to get home early. We don't have to take care of the dog. And she's just always like, I want a puppy. I want a puppy. And so finally, after 7 years of this, I started to feel like an asshole, So finally I said, okay, let's get a puppy. So I researched it. Of course, I found a dog who was a great runner, great athlete, a German short-hair pointer. We found a breeder who was, selling these puppies really inexpensively, so it made sense for us. And we went upstate New York. We spent a full day with the people who raised these puppies. And there were only 2 puppies left, a male and a female. And the dog that actually wound up becoming the dog that we took home was just following us everywhere. It was like we got back there and he was like, yo, it's me. I'm your guy. Take me home. So anyway, I'm not going to get into that whole story, but we wound up taking him home. And it wound up being the best 14 years of my life. Like, I love this dog. So I tell people I loved him so much, sometimes I wish I'd never met him. Like, he was such a beautiful spirit, so free, so purely a spiritual, loving, generous, open, intelligent, energetic, just magnificent being. You know, he gave me so much and I learned so much. And, you know, I'm somebody who never really wanted a dog, but, you know, I mean, we had a family dog when I was a kid, but, you know, I never wanted a dog as a grown person. I never really understood the whole dog thing. You know, you have to walk your dog but anyway, I fell so in love with this dog to the point where it would paralyze me sometimes, you know? And so when he passed, it was really difficult, you know, really, really difficult. So anyway, another significant thing about Stinson, after he passed, I was doing a show at the 45th Street Theater in Manhattan. It was an off-Broadway show called Broke Wide Open. It was my first solo play. And I was doing 8 shows a week for months. It was a very, you know, like one of the best experiences of my professional career. And every night before the show, first of all, I carried a bunch of Stinson stuff with me. You know, I have his blanket that we brought him home in, and he slept with his whole life for 14 years. I still have that blanket. I have a collar of his. I have his dog, you know, dog chain, you know, the tag that they have to have. I have a bunch of his stuff. And so anyway, I always had this stuff with me at the shows. And every night before I went on stage, and I know you're going to think this is corny or whatever, maybe some of you, but maybe some of you will understand. Every night before I got on stage, I used to imagine, like visualize that he was backstage with me just as I was about to walk on stage. And he would just be, you know, I would imagine him sitting there looking at me, you know, like Stinson was very, you know, very physical and you know, very energetic and, you know, not a very calm dog, you know, and if you know anything about German short-haired pointers, that's pretty normal. But anyway, he was like cocked, you know, ready to do something. And I said, you sit there and you wait for me. And I said, you be a good boy. I'm going to go out there and do this show. Just sit here and wait for me. And I had him with me every night. And, you know, I always imagined that he would sit down calmly and listen to me. And he'd raise his head up to me and I'd, you know, pet him under his neck a little bit like I used to do. And he'd wag his tail and look at me. And I'd reach down, he'd lick me a little bit. And I'd walk out on the stage and do the show and come back. And he'd be right there waiting for me. And I'd be like, had a great show tonight, Sticks. And we'd go downstairs, go backstage. And I always just imagined him with me every night. It was just like just a thing that I did to kind of prepare myself to get on stage. I would always say to him, Stinson, just let me have a beautiful shared experience with this audience tonight. And I'm telling you, every night I had the most amazing, beautiful shared experience with the audience every single night. So anyway, one night, a guy comes to the show. His name is Angelo, and he was a friend of somebody who was involved in my show at the time, a friend of mine. And Angelo showed up, and Angelo is a psychic. And so after the show, I had a great show that night. Angelo comes up to me afterwards and he goes, that was such a beautiful experience. I really, really enjoyed the show. You know, I go see a lot of shows, and I got to tell you, that was just very special. And, you know, as I want to tell you too, like the section about your grandmother, because I had a part about my grandmother, he goes, she's on stage with you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your grandmother is on the stage with you. She's there. Now, my grandmother obviously had been dead for many, many years, and I was, you know, I'm not, at the time I wasn't like the psychic guy, but, you know, I'm kind of open. So I was like, he goes, the thing is, I feel badly even telling you this, because generally when I tell people about these psychic experiences that I have about them, I'm always able to put a name to it. But for some reason with your grandmother, I'm hearing 2 names. And I'm like, what are the 2 names? And he says, no, I'd rather not even tell you. I'm kind of embarrassed about it, to be honest. You know, it's like, I don't know. I said, no, tell me the 2 names. He says to me, okay. Esther and Estelle. And I was like, Esther and Estelle. Like, no, you did not just say that. He goes, yeah, Esther and Estelle. Why? And I was like, yo, nobody knows this, but my grandmother's name was Estelle. But what people don't know, and I'm telling you, I don't know that I've ever told anybody this story, But her name before she came to this country was Esther. And she changed it to Estelle when she got here. And he was like, oh, well then that makes sense. And I was like, so anyway, crazy story. So you know, we finish and he goes, anyway, thanks so much. It was a beautiful experience. And he's leaving the theater. And just as he's about to walk out the theater, he's like, yo, Rock. And I'm like, what? He goes, I forgot to tell you. I saw a dog backstage. And he was running around too. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. Just wanted to tell you, there's a dog running around back there. And I'm like, oh yeah? He goes, yeah, I think he was a Dalmatian. And I was like floored because Stinson, as you can see in all these pictures that I'm adding to this video, is filled with spots. And kids often thought he was a Dalmatian because German short-haired pointers kind of can look like Dalmatians. And he says, yeah, he was back there, and actually he walked out on stage a couple of times, but then every time you turn around in his direction, he'd run back and he would lay back down. He was wagging his tail the whole time. So, I mean, I don't know, you know, some people believe in psychics, some don't. That's a true story. Angelo will, you know, back me up on that. I've told a lot of people that story. So anyway, obviously Stinson was very important to me, and so I want to get to the end of this and just tell you that as I'm moving now and going to another city and shifting my life and changing a lot of things and actually leaving New York City, which is a big deal for me, and I'm very excited as to where I'm going. I looked at these shoes, and the thing is, it's hard to get through a pair of Hokas. Like, you know, they're like 90% rubber. Like, it's a lot. But I ran through both of these like, there's nothing. I mean, they're unwearable. And I just thought, you know, it's time for me to move on, to get to this next part of my life. And so I felt like Stinson is just a thing to help me to do that. Sometimes it's hard for me to move forward, to push to the next place. You know, sometimes I like to stay where I'm at. I'm so loyal, you know, I'm the person who never gives up and never quits and always feels like where I am, I can get to the highest level of where I'm at. And anyway, I just want to move forward, and I want to be open to new things and this new place and new experiences and new levels of my life. And so I decided to throw these two pairs of shoes away. So I'm going to keep his blanket. I'm going to keep his dog tag, of course. I'm going to keep his collar. But I'm letting these shoes go. They saved me. And I recovered. I've been through a lot here in this place. I've lived in this home for 8.5 years almost. And so anyway, sometimes you got to let go of one thing to make room for new things. And that's what I'm doing. And I want to just take the things with me that really matter and that I think can feed the new things, you know, that can support the new parts of my life. And so that's what I'm doing. And so, Stinson, I'm still taking you with me, but I'm letting these Stinson shoes go. And onward and upward, and here's to possibilities. And so thanks so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. I hope this finds you well, and I hope everybody you love as well. And here's to better days ahead for all of us. I feel like it's a very challenging time in the world right now, especially in this country. And I'm just hoping that I can do some things that maybe contribute to people's, people having a positive outlook, or maybe opening up to being kinder to one another and being better to one another, being more open, and contributing to the community so that we can somehow get through this incredibly difficult time. So thanks again, and I will definitely see you on the next one. Grateful to be using my Sony a6400. I'm shooting this with the Sony 35mm f1.8 lens. I'm using my LG V20 old cell phone because the audio the audio records 24-bit 96 kilohertz audio. I'm using a Purple Panda lavalier mic, and that's it. All right, hope to see you soon. Peace.